Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside Gaming for the weekend of Cyberpunk. It's almost here, sort of. It was almost here. Now it's further away, but still kind of almost here this year anyway. It's got a new release date, November 17th. The delays, though, have not slowed down the hype train at all. We're kind of all sitting around waiting for CD Projekt Red to just throw us some scraps, to the hogs. Something, anything to sink our teeth into. It's hard to think of any game that was as highly anticipated. The only thing that really comes to mind, recently anyway, is the Final Fantasy VII remake. And I mean, that was pretty much a guaranteed home run considering how beloved the original was. They would have had to mess it up pretty bad to make that a failure. But Cyberpunk is a totally new IP. And I mean, yes, we know there's a tabletop RPG, but it's a new IP in the game space. Also, another little aside, technically there was also a mobile game based on the RPG, but it was a mobile game. Come on. With expectations so high, we wanted to look at a handful of things that we really want to see in Cyberpunk 2077, but no one wants to read a list. I don't want to read a list. I don't want to write a list. So I'm going to reach out to all my least busy coworkers this week and see what they want out of the game, Just have a little chat. Connor, thank you for joining me.
Let's go. Let's talk about it. I'm here. I'm Rudy.
Are you a punk fan?
I'm down to get cyber with it. Yeah, I'm looking for. I don't know if I care about it, especially a cyberpunk genre fan, but I'm definitely looking forward to the game.
So you're more into the cyber side of it than the punk side of it.
I don't think I have a lot of punk cred, knowing myself.
Okay.
I like.
I see a clarinet in the background, but
you're right. That is pretty punk. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, you're a big CD Projekt Red fan, right?
I'm a big Witcher 3 fan.
Witcher
I
3,
didn't play any of the previous ones. I did play Gwent, which was really difficult. I'm not good at those card games.
But yeah, what do you want?
What do I want? Well, I am interested in the car because one, I like cars and video games, but I also am constantly disappointed by driving controls in open world games. I love the way GTA does it. I think obviously Forza Horizon is probably the best open world driving game.
Well, that's the whole game.
That's the whole game, exactly.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs 2 was like, and Mad Max was fine. They had to put a lot of focus in that. But there's a tendency with open world games and cars, just have it kind of steer just completely devoid of physics, and then you have a boost that takes just a second too long to recharge. So you're driving at a really unsatisfying speed, and it's and the screen shakes a little bit, your controller vibrates, and then it goes back to slow as hell.
Yeah.
It's just completely unenjoyable. And given the focus we've seen in gameplay, and it seems like Night City, right? That's what the place is called. It seems like it's pretty big, and I would
it's also very dense.
It's very dense, yeah. So I'm kind of curious about how you're going to get around, and I want it to be enjoyable because I love The Witcher 3, like I said. Not crazy about Roach and the way he controlled it.
Roach sucks.
Roach is pretty dumb.
It's pretty bad.
Extremely stupid.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's great when you have to go from point A to a far off point B, and you can just auto go, and it doesn't take the stamina away, and he stays in the path. But then the second you veer off of it, he decides that something's a cliff, even though it's a creek bed. And then when you do actually hit a cliff, sometimes he'll just just fucking go for it.
Combat on horseback.
Boy.
It seems like you should just have to get off your horse. See, there's no way to do it well.
Because he gets scared, which is an interesting gameplay thing. I don't think the car is gonna get scared, although
it could be. It's probably an AI.
I have to go.
I feed myself.
I my pants, as it were. Oh, also, I want to be able to just set off in a direction and find some kind of story. Because The Witcher, you didn't have to be all right, I'm gonna get back to the main story. You could turn it on and just be I'm just gonna walk. I see a village with a question mark on it, or maybe even no question mark. I'm just gonna stop and poke around, and then you maybe find a really interesting side quest that's, yes, a fetch quest, but it has an interesting story or character to it, and the way they write people is very, very good if it's the same people that were working on The Witcher 3. So yeah, I would love to see that. That really, you don't need to have new gameplay stuff every time you do a different quest. There's an interesting way of packaging things, and I'm excited to see their creative solutions. That's all you get out of me, Brown.
All right. Fine.
Don't you dare ever call me again.
Oh, hey, Patrick. I didn't see you there. I was hacking.
I thought it was weird that I just sat down and you were already on screen and I was recording. What do we hear about? What are you excited about, Cyberpunk? I already know. I want to hear you say it.
Okay. If it wasn't clear, I'm all about the hacking, and we know this game is going to have some type of hacking minigame. It's got to be in there. Maybe even like dedicated sequences to hacking. I just want it to feel really, really cool. I want to feel like a badass hacker. And I think that's a really hard thing to do in a game, right? You think about like BioShock, and you had like basically Pipe Dream was kind of like the hacking game, and I want, because CD Projekt Red, obviously they made The Witcher and Gwent, and I want the hacking equivalent of Gwent. I want to be able to turn this hacking minigame into a full-on esport. Let's go.
Do you think that'll happen?
No, not at all. I mean, who knows at this point? But yeah, like think about like hackers and all like just the real hokey hacking stuff. And you get like flying through the mainframe and just like the code is all scrawling. Like,
I know.
Yeah, let's do it. There's so much potential here for like a really fun. And you know you're gonna have to do that game a lot, right? Like every time you want to hack into a computer or something, you're gonna have to do it. So if it sucks, it's gonna be just a real bummer.
And I
everyone's
think
gonna hate it.
In the tabletop RPG, I know that there's like a big hacking mechanic, and I'm pretty sure part of it is like being able to hack other people's limbs and like other stuff like that, which that could be amazing.
I don't know if you ever played this really cool game called Syndicate, which people always shorthand Assassin's Creed Syndicate for Syndicate, but there's this really, really cool like cyberpunk game, first-person shooter called Syndicate, which is based off an old PC game. And yeah, you could literally like hack into people's brains and do stuff. And there was like this crazy device that you use to like take the chip out of their brain, and you could see it like in X-ray vision, and you like use the analog sticks. Well, I used the analog sticks. It didn't actually do anything, but it made you feel like you were like driving this like metallic worm into their brain to like grab this chip. And anything like that would be super cool. And I don't know, like maybe there's potential here for like really cool setups like that, where you're like trying to hack into like any kind of mainframe while you also have to like shoot cyberpunk goons. I'm into it.
What are you thinking? Do you have any reference points for like cyberpunk media or just like sci-fi stuff in general that you are like equating to this, or that you like are hoping it kind of emulates?
I'm hoping it's something new. Like I'm hoping it's something we haven't seen before. In terms of other like cyberpunk games, I've probably been like lacking over the last decade. You know, I think that's part of why everyone's so excited about this game. Because it's bringing like it's returning to this like kind of, it harkens back to the board game obviously, or to the tabletop game, and I think people are really excited about that, and it's getting all of the CD Projekt Red like super high end PC gaming like AAA treatment, and then that's just so exciting on its own. So I think like my biggest hope is to just see something and be blown away that like I haven't seen before in the form of a hacking minigame, because that's the thing that brings these games down, right? It's like you always have to gamify something, you have to give the player something to do, and usually it's completely at ends with like the cinematic mise-en-scène, if you will, or whatever, like
it's like
the aesthetic.
Lazy, and it's just kind of like an afterthought. Like we know we have to do this, but we don't want to put that much time into it. And then when you end up doing it like 100 times in the course of a playthrough or whatever, by the end you're just like, ugh.
It's basically just like the lockpick equivalent. It's like the cyberpunk equivalency of lockpicking in games. You know, how many lockpick mini games you have, and some are good and some are whatever. But I think maybe with Watch Dogs, right? We saw that like weird, crazy hacking. That demo was, or that original trailer and pitch and everything that they showed, everybody was like losing their minds. And what they actually did in the gameplay wasn't like all that crazy. You know, it was pretty simple. And I wonder if it will be something like that in The Witcher, because there is just so much more game there that they're working on and building. Oh yeah, sorry, in Cyberpunk. I'm still thinking about Gwent, honestly.
I know. It's a good game.
I played it for like 3 hours straight in the main game before moving on to the next quest. So if I can do like 3 hours of a hacking mini game, like you're in really good shape.
There isn't too much fear that this game will be bad.
You
know what I mean? Like no one's saying like it could be bad. Everyone's pretty much just like, no, this is the game of the year. No matter,
it's been decided.
No matter what year it comes out, you know. Which really at this point, who knows? Hopefully that new release date is the final release date, but we'll see.
I got to get back into this mainframe.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry.
Later, bruh.
Zach, thank you for joining me today. I gotta get to the bottom of this cyberpunk nonsense. It's been driving me insane. I've been pacing in my house, screaming all day at my cats.
I can see the desire trails just on your floor, where the floor is worn out from pacing over it for years. Yeah,
you can see where I've been eating. I've been taking my meals.
You've got no time to stop and sit at a formal table.
So what do you want to see out of Cyberpunk?
Yeah, I want to be able to like lean into the idea of specializing different combat styles. For me, I like somebody that always chooses like mage types and lean into, Mass Effect always was like, let's put everything into biotic powers and just, telekinesis people instead of, doing the commando style ammo upgrade stuff. I hope that there's like a lot of options to kind of augment your play style beyond just being a first person shooter. And then also, we were talking about this earlier, but like I for some context of a CD Projekt Red game, so I'd never played one before. I started playing Witcher 3 not very long ago. And it'll be interesting to see if that kind kind of has a similar skill progression thing where it doesn't, you know, you were telling me about how you would specialize with sinking certain points into, like you said, alchemy, and being like, okay, well, I could just drink a bunch of potions before a battle. Whereas like what I found really interesting in Witcher is you can just kind of like maximize your stat boosts if you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna unlock a skill in my skill tree that corresponds with a skill that I already have, or like an item that I already have, so that you can kind of still have that like class specialization, but you can also kind of roll with the punches and kind of base your character off of what gear you have and what you've already accrued. So I like that flexibility, and I hope to see something like that.
What are you thinking for like Cyberpunk? So obviously there will probably be some kind of like heavy gunner class, right? Probably be some kind of, I mean, there's a big thing in Cyberpunk, in like the world of Cyberpunk, not even the game, but just like the genre of like the kind of samurai, which, I mean, Keanu Reeves says it in the trailer, but
it's basically confirmed.
It's a big thing in there where it's like a heavily modified samurai. They usually still have a sword of some kind. I think in Neuromancer, there's some kind of like razor blades that come out of a woman's fingernails. Pretty cool, but she's like the samurai. So I'm guessing there will be something like that where it's like a melee based, but very fast, very soft, low HP kind of thing. Obviously, there's got to be some kind of hacker thing. This is what I was talking about with Evan, but there's got to be some class where you like hack into people's heads and arms and stuff and make them attack each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about that. You like Neuromancer kind of hits it on the head, because like that's the thing about a cyberpunk style, you know, future game where unlike if you're playing a fantasy or something and being a classic mage type or something, you know, you just be casting your spells, but the future equivalent of that is like, oh, I'm hacking into your brain, you know, so I'm like shooting at you, but also like sombering into your head and like getting your gun to stop working for a few minutes. So
it's so sci-fi that it's fantasy, right?
Yes,
like
it's so, done a full loop around the continuum.
We're so advanced that it may as well be magic.
There's some like technological way of explaining how I'm able to shoot a fireball out of my hand. And I'm like, oh no, it's just like nanobots that are set ablaze. Yeah,
I just had this done. I went to Best Buy and they installed this.
Well, I know, I like that's where like BioShock comes to mind, where that was a cool way to bridge the gap between like classic like mage sorcery, you know, whatever powers like with the biotics, but then also like keeping it with that kind of steampunk, but like future-y tech for the times type thing, where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna inject myself with a fucking serum that'll morph me. So I'm gonna be curious to see if like Cyberpunk really leans into that self-augmentation style, like everything is very grounded in like some sort of tech that is viable in the canon. I think so too. I think it'll be grounded. Yeah.
This has been like shown in trailers and stuff, but where you have like your arm, both arms have their own separate things. Both legs have their own separate things. Your head, you know, you can put like a thing in each hemisphere or whatever. I don't know. And then like through that, similar to like the way that in Witcher 3, the Witcher armor, the different Witcher armor sets, each one has its own special abilities, but as you add more within like a set, those abilities stack on each other. And then if you have the full set, you get like, you know, crazy bonuses depending on how many pieces of the set you're wearing. And then even within those pieces, it's upgradable like 5 times or whatever. So you can hyper specialize the like tech that you're using to, you know, your specific combat style or whatever it is.
Yeah, totally. That's kind of what I was getting at with saying I'm really early in The Witcher 3 right now, fairly early. And it's crazy kind of having that ability to roll with the punches and be like, okay, well, I just got this certain armor. And so while I may want to specialize in something different later, right now with the tools that I've got available, my best bet is to like stack into this type of play style and try to get, you know, learn how to succeed with that. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the case. And I'm fascinated if you're saying that like the customization of, you know, your different limbs, and you know, my left arm is a paladin, but my spleen is an engineer, and it's like I'd be curious to see like what kind of like special, the kind of weird permutations you can make with that, because I always really like that.
I wonder if they'll do some kind of like the way that alchemy in Witcher 3, some kind of like tech version of that where you can like jam yourself with concentrated data. teaches you
data core.
Teaches you how to fight good for 2 minutes or whatever, you know?
Maybe that'll provide a certain type of playstyle that I wasn't expecting in this game. That's very heavily based around constantly augmenting yourself and really having like a thorough knowledge of like where your stats are and like what those changes and boosts and dips can do and like how long those be, because I think that'll be a really challenging playstyle too, versus just, you know,
for sure,
I have armor that makes me strong.
That's definitely like the second and third playthrough type of thing.
Yeah. That is Dark Souls second, third playthrough where you're trying to work on quality build or whatever.
All right, cool. Hey, thank you. I guess that's all I got.
Word. Sounds good.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
See ya. So yeah, there you have it. To the surprise of no one, we're all very, very excited about Cyberpunk. But yeah, if you have anything you're super looking forward to that we missed, leave a comment below, whatever you got to do, and have a good weekend.
Hey, welcome back to Inside Gaming Daily for Friday.
Guys, we're all wearing denim, so on Caden's suggestion, we're gonna say a brief yee-haw instead of a yes. Yee-haw!
Yeehaw!
Yeah! Well, that was way better than mine.
Okay. Not to ruin your weekend, but we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to play one of the most anticipated